Hi, everyone, and welcome to BioMedLey, the first ever BioMedLey, where we introduce the leaders of our biotech and life science communities in the Conejo Valley and beyond. My name is Dr. Gerhard Apfelthaler. I'm the Dean of the School of Management at California Lutheran University, and I am the co-host of tonight's show. But now let me introduce you to the real host of tonight's show and the next hour, CNBC's Jane Wells. Jane.
Hi, Gerhard. Thank you very much. I've been in Thousand Oaks for over 30 years. We really live in a unique place where we're at this sort of intersection of innovation, technology, biotechnology. We've got such great companies, startups, and educational institutions, and we're going to celebrate that over the next hour and also talk about what's next, how to make it better, and the challenges of doing all that here in Southern California. If you have questions during the next hour, put them in your Facebook or YouTube chats, and we will get to as many of those as we can. But let's kick it off with meeting our panelists very briefly, have them tell us about themselves and the companies they work for and what they're doing. I'm going to do this alphabetically. So Tom Beecher, I'm going to you first with Kate Farms. What is that?
Thanks so much, Jane. So I'm Tom Beecher. I'm the president of Kate Farms. We're a plant-based medical nutrition company. We're headquartered in Santa Barbara, although I'm based in Boston, which is why it is dark behind me. We have been in business for about 8 years now, growing rapidly and serving a larger and larger set of patients and customers.
And I wasn't quite alphabetical. Next is Dr. Ryan Beal, who's the co-founder and CEO of Dyve Biosciences. Ryan.
Thanks, Jane. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Beal. I'm a biophysical chemist and physician by training and co-founder of Dyve Biosciences. Dyve's developing a set of science to take drugs from the surface of the skin deep into the blood and do it with the speed of needles. I've lived in Thousand Oaks for about 15 years and excited to be here.
Ryan, thank you. David Moline is next. Now, you used to be the CFO of Amgen. I thought you retired. Then you take on a job as CFO of Moderna. Just before the pandemic runs amok over the United States. Where are you now? And give us an overview of Moderna very quickly.
Sure, yeah. So I joined Moderna about a year ago. I thought I'd retired from Amgen, and this opportunity presented itself, and all of my plans that I had for retirement kind of got blown up anyway. So I thought, boy, if I can make a difference in the world to address the pandemic, I would try to do that. So I'm calling in from Santa Barbara, where I live.
And we have many questions for all of you, but now we want our featured physician. One of our awardees tonight is Dr. Na Shin from UCLA. What is the work you're doing there, doctor?
Hi, thank you, Dane. I am a board-certified endocrinologist and obesity medicine specialist. I founded a medically supervised weight loss program called Program for Reducing Obesity, or PRO for short, at the Thousand Oaks office in 2019, basically to serve and provide a academic and high-quality weight management program in this community.
We'll talk more about that later, but I do have one question. What is the healthiest thing, one thing we could do right now? What is the healthiest thing we could do?
I think one of the healthiest things we can do is, get adequate sleep. Sleep is so important. Getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep is just critical, not only to our health, but we know that disruption in circadian rhythm can lead to obesity and also diabetes. So sounds very common sense, but I know a lot of patients are struggling with it. This is one of the many topics we address, at our obesity.
Well, I have a feeling the rest of our panelists don't get a lot of sleep. I tell you, this is the healthiest thing I think I can do. And as I take a sip of my medicine, Frank Watanabe, are you there to tell us briefly about Arcutis and how you ended up there? Because you're an Amgen alumnus as well.
Yeah. Hey, Jane, how you doing? I wish I was there drinking some wine with you. Yeah, I'm another Amgen alumnus. I've been in the industry about 25 years, was at Amgen and Eli Lilly. I've been the CEO of Arcutis about 5 years now. We are a dermatology company based out in Westlake Village and focused on primarily immunodermatology, trying to treat immunological disease of the skin topically.
And you're public, right?
We are public. We went public about 1.5 years ago, right before it hit the fan with COVID, yeah.
I'm going to talk to all of our leaders about, access to capital markets and going public, and especially in this space, because when investors and the board want to wonder, like, well, are you ever going to be profitable? It's a tough one. Tonight's program is brought to you by several sponsors, so let's hear from a couple of them now.
There are over 4,000 students at California Lutheran University.
Each with our own unique backgrounds, upbringings, and beliefs.
We don't look the same.
Or think the same.
But we do share one thing in common. We're open. Open to learning about the world.
Open to exploring new ideas.
And open to discovering our purpose.
Because when you're open,
the world is open to you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for everyone for having me on this show. My name is Jed Harris. I'm with PureTech Industrial Water. And what we do, we provide high purity water systems for companies to use as either a rinse or an ingredient in their product or process. We work very closely with the life science field here in the Southwest. Some of our customers very familiar with, Amgen, Baxter, Medtronic, Standard Homeopathic, and many others. Some of you may be familiar with us and see us with our delivery trucks and service trucks at your company. If not, please give us a look at puretechwater.com. And thank you so much for having me.
I have been here for 15 years, and I work with a team that is motivated and excited to come to work, do great things for the company and great things for our customers.
It's all about service. In our industry, it's hard to find companies like PureTech that are large enough to service major industries and small enough in which our customers can contact our CEO directly.
So the amazing thing about working at PureTech is the pride and the integrity.
Companies choose PureTech Industrial Water because we're easy to work with. We're fast to respond, and we're constantly striving to better our customers.
That's fantastic. The first question I want to ask, and we're going to, again, if you have questions out there in the audience, put them in the YouTube or Facebook chat. We'll get to them later. I want to ask all of you, the biggest issue facing any industry right now is really attracting and retaining talent. They call it the summer of quitting your job. And I don't mean just a scientist, a PhD. I'm talking about an entry-level lab tech. Frank, let me start with you. At Arcutis, what are you doing to attract and retain talent? And is it hard?
I think finding good quality talent is always hard, but I would say we have done pretty well. We have about tripled every year since our existence, and we're on track to triple again this year. We'll probably end the year at about 150 people. I think that probably the most important part for us in recruiting, I think it's probably true for a lot of other people as well, is the mission. A lot of the people at the company were excited about the ability to join a company that was really going to have a major impact on patients' lives. I think beyond that, we work very hard at building a culture that is fun and exciting and empowering. And there's a lot of buzz around the team. I think our best recruiting tool actually is people that are already working for us. And then I think the third thing, location certainly helps. Being in LA provides a very good pool of talent, although, we have always been partially remote, and we will continue to do that. About a quarter of our staff doesn't live in California, and that allows us to recruit the best talent anywhere in the country, regardless of where they happen to reside, and we don't require them then to move to LA.
Are they missing, you said a bunch of your staff hasn't even met each other over the last year. Are you missing out on sort of that corporate culture for being in the room, especially in an innovative industry?
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, frankly, in COVID. We've worked very hard to sort of sustain that. Even before COVID, when we were remote, we brought the team together once a month at least, and we're actually having an all-staff tomorrow, as a matter of fact, now that we're back open again in California. So we're bringing the team back together. But I think you do have to work harder at communication and at culture building in a hybrid kind of environment, which is, I think, what a lot of us are going to be working in going forward.
Ryan, Thousand Oaks is expensive. California is expensive. What are you providing? I don't know, housing subsidies. What are you doing to recruit and retain talent?
No, like Frank said, I mean, it's an ongoing challenge. I think we are fortunate to some degree that there is such a hotbed of talent here in the Thousand Oaks area. So for us, it's been a real focus on making sure we're aligned on the overall mission, and we share the passion on what we're trying to do. Of course, then it's finding the skill sets that we need. But again, I think locally we're fortunate to have those skill sets. and then ultimately aligning around values and really listening to the team and incorporating that feedback. And I think that's a big part of the shift we're seeing today is much more listening to those applicants and potential employees.
How do you sell Dyve to someone coming out of college? How do you say, this is where you want to be? We've got this interesting technology, and gout's still real. I mean, how do you sell someone on coming to your firm?
Yeah, well, I definitely don't start with the gout story. I do start with the underlying science and technology. And for us, it's, we're trying to create and legitimize a third route of drug delivery, where historically there were two ways to get medicines into the body. It was a pill or it was a needle. And we're saying, let's figure out a way to leverage the skin as a delivery portal for those medicines. And that is what gets people excited. Can they do something truly transformative in biotech?
How close are you to market with a product?
We're still a couple years out. So our most advanced clinical product is just completing our first phase 2 study, and that is in gout, which is our first, our furthest along clinical product. So we're a couple years away.
And that's a thing, right? I mean, gout's a thing. I joke about it, but it's not a joke if you have it, I suppose.
It's definitely not a joke if you have it, and I'm sure there's some people watching today that will tell you if they have it, it's a real thing, and if they live with someone that has it, it's a real thing. It affects about 10 million people in America, and once you get a gout attack, it takes you down for about a week of excruciating pain.
Wow. Tom, then a gout patient might end up in the hospital, need to be fed food out of a tube. It's Kate Farms, it's plant-based. How hard is it for you to attract and retain talent?
So I think similar to some of the other folks on the panel, mission is really important to the people who work here. One other thing that we have going for us is that we are the small, fast-growing disruptor against two really big legacy incumbents, and we've got a lot of momentum. And so I think people feel like that's a very fun place to be in a company's life cycle. And I think that's really helping in addition to the mission and some of the other things that others have talked about.
How do you are there like bonuses? Is there, are you upping the internal shares? What are you doing to say this is where you want to be beyond the mission?
Yeah, so we have a competitive package of both cash and equity, but we actually have not had to raise that. Even in a time of tight hiring, we're able to get really qualified candidates who are really excited about coming to work with us. We do have the ability to recruit in multiple markets. In addition to Santa Barbara, we've got a substantial presence in Boston. And then we have a lot of people who are remote and have been before the pandemic as well. We were good at Zoom before it was cool.
David Molina, it's still not quite cool, by the way. I still can't quite figure it. I still have problems with it. David Molina, you're up against other large companies in this race to develop these vaccines, and I'm sure the hunt for talent has been fast and furious. What is Moderna doing? Is it challenged in doing so?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge for us has been to scale while dealing with the pandemic and coming to market with our product. So I spend upwards to a third of my day, I've been interviewing people to bring people on. Quite honestly, being in a remote environment, it actually levels the playing field in terms of your reach, because you don't have to worry about scheduling people to come in and that's the type of thing. You can do it very efficiently. And of course, the challenge of that is when you're not meeting people personally, it really is an important challenge to make sure we're bringing the right people with the right, values and culture to the company. But I could say that we've had plenty of interest in joining Moderna. So it's really a matter for us to prioritize and bring the right people, both in the US and then as we built out globally.
Were you onboarded remotely as CFO?
Yeah, actually, I didn't meet any other employee personally for the first 10 months I worked for the company. And 2/3 of our employees have joined since I joined. So imagine the company, 2/3 people have all operated remotely and have never met employees until very recently. Now, for example, I've started traveling to Boston in April.
That's crazy. It has like the CEO said, "Oh, you're taller than I thought," or.
Yeah, that's right.
Dr. Shen, at UCLA, obesity is such a huge issue. Do you have challenges in recruiting people to work on your projects? And so how do you get them in?
Well, I've been lucky because, as a clinical assistant professor at the UCLA School of Medicine, I have a lot of exposure and to fellows and residents and medical students. So I'm constantly giving talks about the epidemic of obesity and weight loss management treatment options. So I'm constantly just out there promoting my program, and as a result, I've gotten a lot of excellent research fellows helping me with not just the clinical aspect of my program, but also with research as well. So I've been lucky in that area.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you after we have our break here, what got you into it. But first, we do have a break with this good information. And BioMedLey Music Director Paul Piazza is going to introduce our first musical act. We're also going to hear from a couple of our sponsors. Paul, who do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Jane. Our first tune is a classic Cole Porter song, as sung and made famous by Frank Sinatra, and with a great big band arrangement by Nelson Riddle, who was Sinatra's favorite arranger. The singer is yours truly, who also plays a tasteful harmon mute trumpet solo in the middle of the tune. And this one is dedicated to the great vaccine makers and distributors out there saving lives and bringing the world back to life, including David Molina and the good people over at Moderna. So here for you right now is I've Got You Under My Skin.
I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart, it's really a part of me. I've got you under my skin. I've tried so not to give in. I've said to myself this affair can never go so well. So why do I try to resist when, baby, I know so well I've got you under my skin. I would sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice that creeps in the night, that repeats how it yells in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you can never win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time that I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. I've got you under my skin. I would sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice that creeps in the night, that repeats how it yells in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, you can never win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time that I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. Yes, I've got you under my skin.
Hi, I'm Jill Ireland. I'm with USI Insurance Services. USI is a national privately held insurance brokerage firm with about $2 billion in revenues. And I focus specifically in the areas of alternative risk financing, workers' compensation, and all lines of property and casualty coverages. I focus specifically in the areas of manufacturing and wholesale distribution for anything that goes in your body. So food, beverage, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. That's my area of expertise and focus. So I just want to thank the panelists for taking time today to share some insights into their companies and also congratulate the winners. And I look forward to seeing everybody live down the road a little bit. So thank you very much. And thank you, Jane, for the introduction.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Michael Lundberg. I'm an audit partner with Deloitte & Touche based here in LA. Deloitte is the largest professional services firm in the world, and I am personally focused on serving companies in the technology and life sciences industries. And while I serve a number of large publicly traded clients, I primarily serve venture-backed emerging growth companies with hopes of going public in the not too distant future. Back to you.
You know that saying, when life gives you lemons, make...
I've heard it.
Yeah, but our potential for innovation goes far beyond beverages.
Oh, great. Now I'm thirsty.
Okay. We're used in all kinds of industries. Pharmaceutical, automotive, beauty, health.
Okay, I get it. Your point is?
Just that if you look again, you'll find opportunity everywhere.
Interesting. So what if life gives you a kumquat?
Well, that's not the saying, is it?
What about a coconut?
Well, then you would make coconut. Okay, all these things can be juiced.
But if it gave you a banana doesn't juice.
At Stone Park Capital, we want to build hotels that fit into the fabric of the community. I feel a great sense of pride that the community can count on us to give visitors from all over the world a wonderful experience. Community West Bank, I think, saw the potential in us and in this project, and they were an amazing partner that we could count on, especially when times got tough.
The community counts on Stone Park Capital to help give visitors a great experience. We're glad they count on us. Community West Bank.
Andrew Firestone. Wow, there you go. All right, we're back, and I'm going to ask several questions before we head to our next break. We're starting to get questions into the comment section. Please continue. We'll get to as many of those. Before we left, Na-Shin, I was asking, what got you into obesity and studying it? And it is such a huge problem in this country. Are you seeing the type of funding going to research that's necessary?
Yes. Great question, Jane. And as we all know, obesity is an epidemic of epic proportions. The latest CDC data from 2017 to 2018 shows that 42% of all Americans are obese with a BMI of 30 or greater. And especially this past year with the pandemic, I think it really highlighted this under-recognized chronic condition, in that we knew that patients with COVID and obesity had a higher rate of hospitalization, worse outcome, and increased rate of death. So given all of, as you all know, there are so many comorbidities associated with obesity, like heart disease, diabetes, metabolic.
But why did you choose it?
Yeah. So, when I first started working here in 2014 as an endocrinologist, most of my patients were all diabetes, thyroid disease, low testosterone. But the one unifying, problem and complaint amongst most of my patients was weight gain and obesity. And I felt that I was, I did not feel like I was adequately trained in this area, because obesity medicine is relatively new. And I just felt like I needed to, start, focusing on this patient population, because it was such a huge problem, an umbrella problem, in my opinion, to a lot of our endocrine issues. So, and in this area, there was really no high quality academic-based weight loss program at the time. So that's when I really kind of developed a passion and sort of interest in services community. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Now we have a lot of,
go ahead.
Yeah, we have great programs, don't get me wrong, on the main campus at UCLA, and they're fantastic. But, the way they're structured, and, UCLA has now over 200 clinics in the community. Most of these programs are Westwood based only. So it was very important for me to come up with a program that we can not only replicate, in this community, but something that we can service, all communities outside of the main campus of UCLA.
How can we access the PRO program in Thousand Oaks, either as a patient or for research, or as or as a clinician?
So I have wonderful flyers. Hopefully, I can get that to the organizers of this of BioMedLey, and it has our contact information. On how to contact the clinic. So I can provide all of that information. Hopefully, they can be distributed to interested parties.
Okay, great. Thank you. What's interesting, I've got you under my skin. We've got two companies dealing with sort of skin issues. Frank, let me start with you. When you're in startup mode, whatever startup actually means now, I feel like it could be in startup mode for a dozen years in this industry easily. You have more misses than hits. It's a very long window, and you're public. What's the challenge in managing the board, investors, and employees through sort of the ups and downs?
Well, I have to say we've been, I think, really fortunate that we haven't had very many downs. It's been pretty much all ups. Part of that is really because of the strategy that we adopted when we founded the company, which was to focus on targets that we already knew worked and to just find better molecules that went against those targets, and then building a team with really deep dermatology expertise. So, we've been able to go from an idea to we're getting ready to file our first regulatory approval later this year, probably launch sometime next year. And we have 3 other programs in phase 3, and we've accomplished all of that in about 5 years. So, been very, very fortunate in that regard. And I think that's helped to create the buzz that I mentioned earlier that helps us to recruit the best people.
Is that the psoriasis product?
The lead indication is for plaque psoriasis. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And so what's your advice for taking a company public? I think you've been through that process before. When you're in this sector, I mean, it's a great way to get capital, but is it really a great idea always?
Yes, it's a great idea, but I think the details matter. I think people need to understand that going public is a journey. It's not an event, right? The IPO is all fun and games, and then the real work begins as soon as you're actually a public company. And I think that companies need to think carefully about where they are in their evolution, what their profile is, and how that's going to play out. There's a euphemism. People talk about the valley of death. People like to IPO right after really good data, and then many companies have very long stretches before they have more data, and that can be a very painful experience for companies. And I think that companies just need to think very carefully about that and not rush prematurely to the public market, which I think we've seen over the last couple of years. Companies have been a little premature, I think, in going public in many cases, especially the preclinical companies, and now they're suffering in the aftermarket.
Ryan at Dyve, what's it been like trying to access capital markets and that sort of thing during a pandemic?
Yeah, so it's, I had a soft spot in my heart for what Frank was saying, because we're in the midst of preparing the company to go public. So I'm dealing with all of those issues now. But during the pandemic, I think the biotech investor has, this is a long cyclical play, and that's normal for biotech. And so investors have been supportive throughout the pandemic, and you deliver and you execute, and there's capital available.
Is there a use for this technology for vaccines, like what we just went through?
So imagine a day when you don't have to get an injection to get a vaccine. That's one of the things that excites us longer term, is getting larger and larger molecules through the skin.
And 10 years?
That's a reasonable target, although don't hold me to it, but yeah, it's a ways off, clearly, especially.
And why go public? Why go public?
So we view it as a capitalization strategy. That especially as our programs advance into the clinics, it's capital intensive, and there's a market for it, and there's capital available. So it seems for where we are now, it's a very efficient way to capitalize the business to do what we need to do.
Tom, you raised, I think, was it $51 million in your latest round of funding at Kate Farms? How are you deploying that?
Yeah, so we have, it actually wound up being 60 in total. And then just this morning, we announced closing on a $30 million senior credit facility as well. So we were pleasantly surprised. Last summer, we went out looking to raise about 20 million of private capital, and we kind of got overwhelmed by attention and wound up closing on 60 in October. And we're using that to build new products, hire more salespeople, and scale up the entire company.
And is the plan to go public?
So we've been approached by a bunch of SPACs over the last.
Of course you have. Who has? I've been approached by a SPAC. My dog's been approached by a SPAC.
Yep. I'll be interested to hear your mother's experience as she goes through the process. We've not bit on any of those yet. We're big believers that if you build a great company, you'll have lots of great options when you want to have liquidity. So we're not nothing for sure yet.
How does it taste, and what is it like? What is it like?
Yeah, so it's a liquid. It's there's a consumer-oriented version that we call a nutrition shake, and we've got a great chocolate, a vanilla, and a coffee, and people really like it. It's all plants, very healthy, meal replacement. Highly recommend it.
But I think what is 95% of your business in a medical setting do I have that right? And what's the goal to get outside or diversify your revenue stream?
Yeah, so about 80% of the business is in medical, and the other 20% is in e-commerce. And those customers are a mix of people who buy it because they want a meal replacement and people who buy it for some medical reason. But we think the combination of the taste and the real healthiness of it gives us a big consumer opportunity over time as well. When we look at those big legacy players that we compete against, they all have very large medical businesses and they all have very large consumer businesses.
Who are your main competitors, and how are you differentiating?
Yeah, so the two big guys are Abbott and Nestle. Very cozy duopoly that's been around for decades, and they produce a product that is roughly McDonald's quality nutrition, in our opinion. And we produce something that's made with organic pea protein, tastes just as good, and patients do really well on our product.
And peas are not GMO, so you have that going for you as well.
Non-GMO, organic, non-GMO.
David, before I ask about Moderna, what was the craziest moment coming on board as CFO of the company as it's racing to create a vaccine and everybody's dying from this? What was the crazy from a CFO's perspective?
To be honest, probably the most memorable moment was a Sunday when we heard that we had a 94% efficacy from the vaccine that we got from the trial. And there was a moment when I realized I could see the end of the pandemic when we heard that, which until that moment, it was not clear. So that was something that will be memorable for all of us the rest of our lives.
How critical was it? What difference did it make for the U.S. government to invest in, 6 companies, 6 vaccines without any indication that they would succeed?
Yeah, we think it was, and in retrospect, I think there's a broad agreement that it was a very good approach that the U.S. government took, where they basically were venture investing with uncertain outcomes. And if you look at some of the other leading countries, they made a bet on single supplier or two, which hasn't worked out as well for them. Whereas in the case of US, both ourselves, the Pfizer product approved early and still today, leading in the market or world. And so that's turned out a really wise investment on the part of the US government.
What's next in terms of treating the variants or children as young children, or this idea of mixing vaccines for boosters?
Yeah, so all 3 of those. So we're working right now on booster alternatives. So one specifically tailored to the South African variant. A second one is simply a booster of the original product, and a third version which combines the together in a single injection. And we're waiting for the results of those, but the initial results have been give patients better antibody counts than when they got their original vaccines. Secondly, we and others are working on extending to younger ages, because if you vaccines, traditionally the recipients of vaccines first. And so we've applied for approval now down to age 12. The trial result gave 100% efficacy for patients in that trial, ages 12 to 17. And we expect by the fall, certainly here, but hopefully by when schools start, to be able to extend that down to younger children based on the results of the trial we're running now. And then thirdly, the biggest question when we talk to customers about ongoing requirements, the big question we're now getting is, can we do Moderna after having had a first course of treatment from another producer, including the Chinese, including the Soviets? There's a lot of countries who are interested in mRNA for their population, which has the highest efficacy of all of the vaccines. And countries are actually now recommending to proceed on that basis. So they're not waiting for all of the results from the trials, but there are some initial results, which, as people expect, that's a safe approach to nations.
Real quick, where would Moderna be in June 2021 if COVID had never happened?
That's a great question. So when I joined, we just finished the long-term plan, and they expected their first product launch to the market in 24 or 2025. And so they, well, need to join because they realized they might be a commercial company if it worked out well in 2020. And indeed, we launched our first product in December when we got the emergency use approval. And we said in our call here last month that we've signed $19 billion of contracts for 2021. So it's been quite the changing environment. And the good news is that it's really having a positive impact on the pandemic for patients.
Well, I was a Moderna girl. Second shot threw me for a little bit of a loop, but I'm happier, better than getting COVID. It is working. We're going to take a quick break here. Paul Piazza, what is up next?
Thank you so much, Jane. We've got a command performance from fan favorite Niv Ashkenazi, one of LA's brightest classical violin soloists, who was most recently featured on the acclaimed Violins of Hope series. Here, he's going to perform the Salut d'Amour, a gorgeous solo for violin by Sir Edward Elgar. Elgar wrote famous works for orchestras such as Pomp and Circumstance and the Enigma Variations, and we feature his music here because he was also an amateur chemist who invented and patented a method to manufacture hydrogen sulfide. Music and science come together here today for everyone here at BioMedLey as Niv Ashkenazi performs Sir Edward Elgar's Salut d'Amour.
Thanks, Jane. First and foremost, thanks to all the panelists on the show tonight for doing what you do. As a cancer survivor, I had a positive response to immunotherapy just 3 years ago, and I'm continually excited by the work you're doing. Specific to my role as an employee benefits consultant at USI Insurance, my team provides middle market organizations access to big firm resources at a local level. I'm happy to expand on that with anyone tuning in tonight. Our goal, essentially, in managing human capital is helping our clients save time, money, and the lives of their population. Thank you.
Real estate isn't just space. It's an opportunity to engage employees and move your business forward. At Cressa, we're advisors. We'll find the right real estate solution for your business. But we'll do much more than that. We think beyond space, using real estate to enhance quality of life, drive business goals, and empower workforces. Because in the end, people matter most. We're the world's largest commercial real estate firm focused exclusively on occupiers. So unlike other firms, we don't represent landlords. That means we're able to fully advocate for our clients without any conflicts of interest. We provide insight by asking the right questions from the beginning and use data to facilitate smart decision-making. From determining the right location, to negotiating the transaction, to establishing the best office setup for employees and coordinating the move, we are a true partner for occupiers in every phase. We're advisors invested in bringing our clients the greatest value. Experience, expertise, and insights. That's what we offer. Think beyond space.
UCLA Health, it begins with you. From personalized, compassionate care at our 170-plus clinics throughout Southern California, to our 4 state-of-the-art hospitals, the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, the UCLA Mattel Children's Hospital, the Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital at UCLA, and the UCLA Medical Center Santa Monica. Everything we do, from routine checkups to the most advanced procedures and life-changing research, is centered around the lives we touch. UCLA is ranked among the top hospitals in the nation and Los Angeles by U.S. News & World Report for nearly 3 decades. We are a national leader in organ transplantation, ophthalmology, and cancer care. But for all this recognition, it's those we serve who push us to be even better. We're in the community providing care to more than 25,000 children and adults each year who would otherwise have no access to such care. Our UCLA doctors, dentists, nurses, and students volunteer to provide free care to thousands of underserved Los Angeles residents. Our physicians and medical students serve the homeless where they shelter. Our fight against childhood obesity begins with free, innovative fitness programs to area schools. And we are proud to stand by our troops through outreach, surgical, and psychological treatment for injured service members.
I have a good friend having surgery down at UCLA today, and I know he's in good hands. And those of you who know me know that I don't say that lightly because I went to school across town. We're going to start taking your questions shortly, but first, we're going to hand out a couple of awards. We've already recognized Dr. Na Shin as our featured physician, but next is our Business Leadership Award to Brent Reinke, straddling law and founder of the Bioscience Alliance. Brent?
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate the recognition, but as it is the case with most of these things, it takes a lot of people to make something like this happen. Excited to be a part of what's going on in this region in the life science industry. It's great to see what's transpired over the last 12, 13 years since we started Bioscience Alliance. And I saw an opportunity back then to do something with this industry. So again, looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. Over the next 5 to 10 years, both as a lawyer at Stradling, now that we have an office here in Westlake, but also obviously with Bioscience Alliance and continuing to hold events that both educate and allow the industry to network with one another in this region, and hopefully have that become a facilitator and developing the ecosystem that we have out here. So again, appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing what we can do in the next 5 to 10 years. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brent. Living life on the road. Next is our Government Partner Award, which is Thousand Oaks City Manager Andrew Powers. Andrew?
Thanks so much, Jane. On behalf of the Thousand Oaks City Council and city staff, we're really appreciative of the recognition here. As a forward-looking municipality, we are committed to supporting business through long-range planning that balances jobs, housing, and the environment, all to achieve a great quality of life. We're really excited about the burgeoning biotech cluster that we're building here, but recognize that it's only the beginning. We look forward to many years of growth and prosperity ahead. Appreciate the acknowledgement tonight, and thanks to all the partners that helped to get us to this point today.
Andrew, thank you. Next are our media awards, and first is Charlie Crumpley of the San Francisco Valley Business Journal. Charlie?
Oh, thank you, Jane. I appreciate it. This is really great. You know, the life science cluster in the Conejo Valley is something that we've dedicated a lot of time and resources to, because it's really an interesting, vibrant cluster, and one that we look forward to seeing. You know, what happens in the future. So
thanks, Charlie. Great. There's a question that is going to make you want to perk up here shortly. But next is Henry Dubroff of the Pacific Coast Business Times. Hi, Henry.
Hey, Jane. Thanks for the recognition. I think we've all seen the Central Coast region become pretty important in terms of software and also material science. And now with new players emerging beyond Amgen, we've got a real shot at a third leg in the technology stool, if you will, that being Biotech, BioMed. There's already a pretty good cluster that's emerged in the Santa Barbara down to Westlake corridor. There's even some life sciences up in San Luis Obispo, and you know, the sky's kind of the limit. Henry Yang, chancellor at UC Santa Barbara, says we have a magnetic attraction to innovation on the Central Coast, and our magnet's getting stronger all the time. And I just can't do better than that.
Henry, thank you. And now our Innovation Award, somebody who's really worked tirelessly to sort of promote and bring together the business community, is Cal's Dr. Gerhard Appelthaler, and also Mike Panissas. Gerhard, you need to unmute yourself. We're a year and a half in. Maybe, well, why don't we have Mike speak first?
I can go. I think I'm unmuted. Thanks, Jane. We're thrilled with the recognition. We're so excited about the biotech cluster that is growing up around us in the Conejo Valley. We hope that Hub 101, our Cal Lutheran's community co-working space, can continue to play a part in that community. And we're excited that the role that Cal Lutheran has to play in this ecosystem as well, with our students and our many alumni.
Thank you. Gerhard, this is your baby. You've got to have an opportunity to speak. Are you with us?
And I hope the microphone works now. Wonderful, right? I'm only a college professor, right? So what do I know about using this technology? Pretty much along the lines of what Brent Reinke has said, it's others that make people like Mike and myself shine. Most importantly, our students and alums. We have more than 35,000 alums from Cal Lutheran. And just imagine this, more than 1,000 have actually gone through Amgen, right? And many more hundreds work at the companies that are present at the BioMedLey today. So my thanks goes to them, and thanks for the award.
You're welcome. We have just a few minutes left. I'm going to get to a couple questions. Charlie, this is the one I was talking about. It's from Ben, and I'm going to ask it of Ryan and Frank. Could this cluster move east toward Van Nuys in downtown LA? Because Thousand Oaks just isn't that affordable for many new grads. Ryan, do you see a move at just sort of eastward?
Yeah, we're actually moving northward and westward. We just expanded into Camarillo, but I could see the bubble growing in both directions over time. But we've made the move onto the other side of the grade into Camarillo and are loving it over there.
Was that a cost issue?
It was cost and availability of space, and we found great space. And we also have a number of employees that live in the Ventura area, and it made it easier from just a lifestyle perspective for commuting in.
Frank, what about you?
I think eastward movement is tough, and I think there's been a recent example of that with Kite. Right, a lot of the talent in Los Angeles in the biotech space is up around Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks, and Kite recruited a bunch of people, mostly from Amgen, and they were commuting an hour each way every day. I've picked off a bunch of those people. It makes it a lot easier when you're in Westlake Village. I think there's a critical mass right now in Westlake TO, and I think that's going to continue to give that area a leg up for companies like ours that are looking for. Maybe not someone right out of school, but someone who has a fairly long record in the industry. Most of those folks tend to reside in the western San Fernando Valley, Conejo Valley.
Tom, let me ask you, because you're not developing drugs. Why stay in this area? Why not move? You don't need to draw off the Nobel laureates of UC Santa Barbara. I'm not, not to say that your technology isn't amazing. You know what I'm saying? Why stay in this corridor?
So we've been able to do really well with recruiting in this area. We don't feel a need to move. There are lots of great reasons for being in Santa Barbara, not least that it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It does help us that we've got a good sized presence in Boston, so we don't feel limited to a single market to recruit in, and that we're been pretty good with flexibility on where people are located. So we see lots of benefits to being in Santa Barbara.
Do you source your material in California? I mean, peas are mostly grown like in Montana and places like that.
Yeah, so we actually have a network of third-party manufacturers who make the product, and they're all over the U.S. And then the ingredients are sourced from the U.S. and 10 other countries.
David, I'm going to leave the last question for you. It's from Henry. Where are we with COVID-19? How much risk lies ahead? I understand you're not an MD. I may ask our two doctors. We have two doctors. I will ask them this after this because we do have two MDs. Where are we? What inning would you say? And how would you grade California's reopening so far this summer? Well, it just happened.
Yeah, so I would just comment briefly, and you're right, I'm not an MD, but what we do see now is in the U.S., at least the first wave of requirements have been, substantially addressed. I think over 80% of older adults have received vaccinations. What we see, it's very early innings in much of the world. And the issue with that is variants develop in people who are unvaccinated, who get infected with the disease, which becomes a place where variants can then form. So until we're able to get vaccinations broadly covering the globe, you can expect there's going to continue to be, new variants popping up, unfortunately. And so it's really quite critical that we make significant progress, which we think will be happening as we move through 21 and 22.
Is the company surprised at the pushback in America that more Americans have not gotten vaccinated? Is Moderna kind of like, well, our projections were
Actually, if you look at the uptake, it's been higher than initially expected, and that surveys would indicate. And what's happened is people have gotten more confident that indeed the science was respected when these approvals took place, and the results, and you see the safety and efficacy that's been exhibited. We've seen a continuous increase. So we've been, positively impressed with what's going on. And I think importantly, when we started this platform, we have mRNA, messenger RNA, was of course new to the world. And so for some people it was, people were put off by that, whereas now what we've seen is a developing preference for the platform as it's proven to be safe and efficacious. So so it's very exciting.
Yeah, well, my microchip is working perfectly. So real quickly, our two doctors, Dr. Shen, you first. What do you think of California opening up? We're the last state. I was in Iowa this week where it's 2019 all over again. What do you think about California's reopening?
I mean, I'm very cautiously optimistic, and although I'm not an infectious disease doctor myself, luckily I am married to one, so I hear, his opinions all the time. And like David was mentioning, we still have a lot of work left to do, especially with all the variants that are, occurring all over the world. And I truly believe that this is not over until every country, developed and underdeveloped, has access and to vaccines and are able to get COVID under control, because we are global. We're a very globalized community, and I think as wonderful as it is here in California and other parts of the country, it's not over until the rest of the world has access to vaccines and get vaccinated.
And quickly, Dr. Ryan Beal, is it masks off at Dyve Biosciences? Is it, party like it's 2019? How do you feel about the reopening?
It's party like it's 2021. We're not quite back to 19, but we're cautiously optimistic and excited as well. And it's just an exciting time to be part of the broader biotech ecosystem, from the patients and healthcare workers to the industry providers. I think the ecosystem did some amazing things in 2020.
Everybody, thank you so much for your insights. We so appreciate it. And thank you to our sponsors. Paul, I'm going to let you play us out.
We've had an amazing afternoon, Jane, learning about the people and the companies who make the future possible. We've got a slam bang finale to match. Craig Pilo on drums, Matt Smith on keys, Anthony Piazza joining us from Mammoth on guitar, and yours truly on vocals. For Dr. Shen, Dr. Beal, and all the other good doctors and healthcare professionals out there, here's one written by Moon Martin, made famous by Robert Palmer, and done up in style to close up BioMedLey. Here's A Bad Case of Lovin' You.
I've gotta find my baby yet. I need you to soothe my head and turn my blue heart to red. Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you. No pills gonna cure my hell. I got a a pretty face don't make no pretty heart. I learned that right from the start. You think I'm cute, little bit shy. I'm a high, that kind of guy. Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you. No pills gonna cure my hell. I got a bad case of loving you. I got a